Hello, fellow Minecraft adventurers. I'm Expert, and today we're going to have a look at the Reels of Fire slot machine I designed. I think it's probably the most advanced slot machine in Minecraft, and it's actually the first mini game I've made for Minecraft, and I want to set myself a bit of a challenge. So firstly, the Reels of slot machine should all be directly next to each other, and in most slot machines you'll find there's actually a gap between the reels. I didn't like that. And I also wanted to make them stop in turn, so starting from the left, and then the middle one would stop, and then the right-hand one would stop. And that's to mimic a real-life slot machine. And when I was looking around at other designs, they most often just had one possible win. It was because they work with a combination of solid and transparent blocks, and you'd need 3 solid blocks in a row to win. And that seemed a bit limiting to me. So my machine's got 3 different possible win lines: furnaces, blast furnaces, and smokers. And the smokers will give you a jackpot, and it's not just an ordinary jackpot, it's an accumulator jackpot. So what do I mean by that? It basically means if you get a jackpot, you win the whole prize pool. So any money that's in the prize pool gets paid out to you. That's not quite true, because we always keep a little bit behind, so that if someone else has a win directly after a jackpot's been paid out, there's still money to pay them. And also, your money as the owner of a machine always gets taken out first, so it never gets into the prize pool at all. And these lights up at the top, they'll show the player how much money is available in the jackpot, the accumulator jackpot. So the more lights are lit, the bigger the payout, and hopefully that'll encourage more people to play. Okay, so let's have a quick look at how it works. You put your payments in here, and I'm using diamonds, but it could be any stackable item in the game. So if you wanted to use gold ingots or carrots or even, I don't know, beacons, you can do that easily enough. And now I hit the play button and a reel spin. And if I was lucky enough to win a prize, it would come out down here. And then I can choose to press play again. Or I can turn on autoplay by pressing this lever. And now when I press a button, it'll just keep playing until I run out of diamonds. So the machine's very configurable. You could change the payout for the furnace and blast furnace prizes. They'll always be the same as each other, but they can be what you want. You can also change the cut that you take as the owner. And you can change how long the reels spin for. So if you think this is a bit slow or a bit too fast, we can adjust that as well. So let's go over here where I've got the stripped down version of the machine, and we'll take a look at how to make those changes. And I want to talk a little bit about the maths behind it very, very briefly. And I'll show that on the screen probably rather than go through it in a lot of detail. But I want to talk about how to set it up so if you don't run out of money and that you do get some money going into the jackpot, because otherwise, you know, people aren't going to be interested in playing. And then after that, we'll go to the build tutorial. All right. Okay, let's start just here. And this dropper has got items in which determine how much money you, as the owner of the machine, take out. So we've got 1 non-stackable item and 3 stackable items here. That is 1 out of 4. That's 25%. So 25% of everything that anyone pays in, you will get back yourself. And we can adjust that. So if I add 1 more different item, that's now 1 in 5. That's 20%. I could add another one, that's 1 in 6, which is about 16.5%. And you can make that choice. So the more you take, obviously, the less money goes to the player, and then maybe the less they'll be interested in playing it. But obviously, you're guaranteed to get a bigger cut. So that's up to you how you set it up, but we'll do the maths in a bit. The second one I want to show, which you can adjust, is round here. And this dropper determines the length of times that the reels run, essentially. So the fewer stackable items you have in here, so if I've got it like this, the fewer stackable items I have, the shorter time the reels will run for. I would recommend that you probably either have 3 stackables to 1 non-stackable. You might get away with 2 to 1. If you want it to go a bit slower, then 4 to 1 will work as well. So play around with that, decide what works for you and your players. I've set it up as 3 to 1 like this. And then the final one is down here, and it's this hopper here. And this basically determines how much the payout is for your normal win for a furnace or a blast furnace. And it's set up at the moment to pay out 4 diamonds for one of those wins. If you drop that down to 23, it'll pay out 5 diamonds. And if you put another non-stackable item in there, it'll pay out 3 diamonds. So again, I think that's probably the range you want to be working in. You could mess about a bit more if you wanted to and see what works, but that feels like the right number to me. And we'll see the maths again in a second. I don't want to spend ages talking through this, but summary is that the table in the top left, the big numbers in white show how much the average jackpot will be based on how you've set up the amount of money you take out, the house take, and how much money you pay out for standard prize for furnace or blast furnace. And you see the figures in the columns there. So that's the average jackpot payout. The top right, the 2 boxes there, show you the summary of how we set up the various droppers and hoppers that we just went through. And then the text at the bottom just talks about what the probability is of a standard payout, a jackpot win, and how much we pay out altogether based on the house take. So play around with those numbers, decide how you want to do it, and then set it up like that. And obviously you can change it over time as well. Right, well, I'm sure you want to know how much space you need. So the build is actually going to be 12 blocks by 8 blocks, and it's going to be 5 blocks above ground and 4 blocks below ground. Or if you want to build it all above ground, obviously it's 9 blocks tall. And because it's quite compact inside the build, if you're going to build it underground, you will also need some extra space to be able to get around and actually place blocks, because otherwise you will not be able to get out. And that is why I'm going to be building it above ground, because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing and to be able to get around easily. So you can build it in a hole if you like, but I'm going to do it above ground. Okay, so starting point. We come in 4 blocks from the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 blocks from the front, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is where we're going to start. All the materials will be in the description. I'm not going to go through them during the video. So we're going to place 3 blocks in a row, 1, 2, 3, and I want repeaters 1, 2, 3 on top of each of those on 2 ticks. Put solid blocks behind the repeaters with dust on top like that. I want obsidian in front of the repeaters like this. And we're going to put a normal piston on top of each repeater facing towards the back of the build, and 3 more pistons facing up like so. And the idea is that when I power this dust, it'll power this piston, and then 2 ticks later this piston will get powered as well. So this is the start of a piston feed tape, which will turn all of our reels, it'll spin the reels of the machine. So I want to come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks like this. And then I want to come out by 2. These are temporary blocks. Break this one. And we're going to put a piston here, here, and here. And I also want, I'm going to come up 1 more. And I also want to put a piston just here. And along here. Oops. Along here like this. I can break these down. I'm going to leave that bottom one in for the time being. And I need more obsidian to make sure that I don't break anything. So this one's pushing up here. I'm going to need obsidian along there. And I'm going to need obsidian along here as well. Like that. Okay, on here, we're going to place 3 repeaters, again on 2 ticks, and put 2 more blocks behind these with redstone dust on them like that. And then we just need to join up this dust to this dust. We're going to do that using some glass blocks like so. We're going to come up diagonally like this. And here I want to come down diagonally, and then I need a solid block just here. Put dust on all of that. There we go. And the important thing here is that if I power this block, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 redstone dust before I get to the dust that powers the pistons. And if I power this block, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 dust to get to this row of redstone as well. So it's the same number of dust, because I'm going to be using signal strength to power my piston feed tape. The last thing we need to do right now is come down here and just add 3 more obsidian like that. And this obsidian is going to be, in fact, all of the obsidian is there so that we don't need to be too careful of our timings of the piston feed tape, and nothing can get pushed out of place because it'll get blocked by these immovable blocks. Next thing we need is to have our blocks which are going to be make up the reels of the slot machine. So I'm using the 3 different furnace types. I recommend you do the same. You could use other containers, but definitely don't use hoppers, droppers, or dispensers, because they will just shoot their items out at various points. So the system uses signal strength to detect if we've got a win. So you'll see I've got a signal strength of 1 coming out of my furnace, 5 coming out of my blast furnace, and 10 coming out of my smoker. And the one with the highest signal strength is our jackpot. And the way I've done that is in every furnace, you need to put a single stackable item. In every blast furnace, a single non-stackable. And in the smoker, 2 non-stackables. Okay, that's how we get that signal strength. That's how we're going to detect the win, as I said. I have pick blocked these, so I've got them when I place them. They already have those blocks in. You will need to place them as you go along, and make sure you do that and make sure you get them in the right place, or else this won't work. Okay, so what I'll do is over on the right hand side, if my editing skills are up to it, I'm going to place an image of how they're laid out, and we're going to start on this block that we left here, so it's 1 block above those pistons. Okay, so I'm just going to start placing those, and if you follow the image, pause the video if you need to, and just do the same. Okay, so that's the first set, should look like that, and you can see I've got the items that we discussed in each of these furnaces. And the second lot, which will be appearing on the side of the screen now, will put directly on top of this obsidian down here. And essentially the same order but reversed. So where I've got a furnace at the top here followed by a blast furnace, I'll start with a furnace at the bottom, followed by a blast furnace, followed by a furnace, and so on. Okay, so that's all of them placed, and hopefully yours looks the same as this, and you've checked you've got all the right items in the right places. Next, we're going to place the circuit which triggers the start of the slot machine going off. And I'm going to do that by starting on this piston over here, third one along, put dispenser down, put powder snow into there, leave a gap. Then on this last piston, put an observer facing towards that gap in front of the dispenser. We want a solid block just here and a torch on that block. And what will happen if I put a block here and we put a button on it, like so, what you should see is when I press that button, the torch will go off for 1 tick over here. Okay, let's fill this in as well. And I'm going to have glass here. So this is the reel we're actually going to look at as we play. And I'm going to need some more solid blocks up there as well. Okay. So from the front of the build, we're going to put 3 top slabs along here. These will be the start of our floor. And I want to go on and build the pavement system. So we're going to put a barrel against this block here. And directly underneath that barrel and this block, I want to put a double chest. So if I grab my double chest, it's going to look like that. Put a glass block over this side here. Then I want to put a solid block here and here temporarily. We're going to put a hopper facing into there. Break this one, hopper facing into there. Comparator on top of that. And a hopper facing into that comparator, like so. Okay, put a solid block on front of here, glass block underneath, dust on there coming down like this, and a target block just here. Then I want a torch on top of my target block and on the side facing the back of the build as well. Put 2 solid blocks on top of this torch with a redstone dust up here. So the torch will power this block and lock this bottom hopper. This dust powered by this torch will lock the top one. And I can set this up now as an item filter. And I would recommend you put 2 items into here. We don't need to be overflow protected. And then I want 5 items which are stackable to 64 in each of the other 4 slots like this. So 22 items in total. Ideally, you will rename these items in Anvil so that no one can throw those in and pay to play using your items. So there'll be some secret name that you give them through an Anvil. Okay. Right. Next thing I want to do. Put a hopper facing into the side of this chest. And this is how we're going to collect our money. So stuff we don't pay out to players. Put a repeater here. Target block here. A torch just there. And put a solid block now here with dust on top of it. I could break this temporary block, but I want to put now a dropper. So grab the dropper. So a dropper just here. I also want a dropper in front of this redstone dust. So I've got to line that up quite carefully. There we go. And a hopper pointing back down into there. Put a solid block here. A comparator just there. Solid block into the face of that. A solid block underneath. And redstone dust coming down and joining onto this target block. So this is going to be a randomizer, and because we want to get a payout of 25%, I'm going to use 1 non-stackable item, and I need to use 4 different stackable items, and they can be items of your choice, but they have to be 3 different ones with 1 stackable. Okay. Now, if you come over here, I want to put a gold block down there. Grab my note block as well. So gold block here. It looks a bit funny because my texture pack. A note block on top of there. So the gold block basically just chooses the instrument. You can have whichever instrument you want. You can change it, but gold block kind of works. And you can change your note. And that's the note that will play whenever a diamond is paid out. Okay. Put a solid block just here with a torch on top. And 2 more droppers facing upwards above that, like so. Then I want a line of hoppers going from that bottom dropper back along this way and ending above this dropper here. Okay, so I've got 4 hoppers in a row going into there, and this is where we're going to pay out to the user. Okay, just to finish this off, put dust here, here, and there. So we'll come back to that in a little while. I'm going to come back around this side, and I want a dropper facing towards the back of the build next to this torch. Another dropper facing into that one, so looking at each other. Put a non-stackable item into here. A comparator will be reading this. Solid block just there, solid block here, solid block there, solid block here and here, and here. Then I want a target block on this middle one. Then 2 1-tick repeaters like this. And we're going to have dust going there, there, there. A target block here and a target block here. So it should look like that. And this system basically, when a diamond is collected, this torch will go off and come back on, which will push the item into here turning this on, and that'll stay on until the machine has finished running. Okay, so it gives you a full go. Put another solid block on top of there and a dust on top of that. And this is eventually how we'll turn it back off again when we've finished. Okay. Now I can round it back. For this next bit, I'm going to use chains, but you can use just solid blocks. Chains work in the same way because they allow a comparator to read a container through them. But they just give you a little bit more access and visibility of the build, so I kind of quite like that. Put a temporary block here, block on top, 2 more across like that. And we're going to build kind of a bit of a platform. So where the next block would be here, directly underneath that, put a block and then 1, 2, 3 observers. Come this way, put 2 observers. Put a glass block just here. And then fill the rest out with solid blocks like this. Okay, then you want a comparator here, 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 in the middle, here and here, and fill out the other spots with redstone dust like so. And all those comparators have their torches off. They are on compare mode. Okay, next is comparator. Grab a smoker. And we're going to place it there. And you want to have a 2 non-stackable items. So it's the same as your jackpot smoker, the payout there. Put a comparator on top of here. Top of this observer. And a solid block in front of that. Solid block in front of this comparator and this one. And we need a target block in the middle. Okay, so you see they will all get powered. Then redstone torches on the back of each of those blocks. Solid blocks underneath those 3. And actually a temporary block there. So I want to build 3 blocks in a row with redstone dust on like that. Put a temporary block here. We're going to come out by 2 and across by 1. Same on this side, except we're just going to come down by 1 like this. 1 redstone dust there, there. And here I want to put a temporary block with a top slab underneath it. Like this. And a block next to that. And these will have dust on them as well. Okay, so that's going to get powered by this comparator. Now, this comparator is basically checking the signal to see if we've won a jackpot or if it's just an ordinary win. And it needs to be on subtract mode. So when you get a jackpot, this line turns off and it would light this torch. And if all 3 are the same, then it's definitely a win, and that will light this torch here. Okay, so that's my win, that's my jackpot. Underneath this one, put a block with a redstone dust on it. I want to grab a dispenser, and I'm going to need a couple of buckets of powder snow. So put your dispenser facing up next to that. Powder snow inside of there. And we're going to put a comparator here for now with a couple of dust coming off it. We'll come back to that in a second as well. Underneath this torch, put another dispenser, more powder snow. That'll dispense powder snow into this gap, and that'll be watched by an observer just here. Then I want a redstone comparator, redstone, comparator just there, and a solid block just there. I can break this block underneath the observer as well for now. Okay, let's take a quick break from all the redstone and finish off the front here. So I'm going to extend my floor out to 3 blocks altogether. And I'm going to come out this way on that side and on this side as well. Now, here normally I'd extend my wall, but I need to not block this redstone. So I'm going to come down here and place an upside down staircase here. So that allows redstone to signal through. It looks like a wall from this side. Build up here. And same here. And then on the top, we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 redstone lamps like that. Temporary block there and there. So I can put an upside down staircase on here as well. Now, you might prefer to put a barrel here if you want. There's a small possibility you might end up with a diamond in this top dropper, which is what you could take. I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest. But yeah, you can put a barrel there if you want. But I think this looks quite nice. Okay, so we can come out like this. Add there. And then don't need that one. Like that. And then I think one higher. And you can come across the roof as well. Okay, so this is our final kind of look. Just here I want to put a lever, and this will be for the autoplay mode, which we'll add later. Okay, let's keep going some redstone. I'm at the back of the build, and I'm going to come through this little gap here. And I want to place a block down there in this gap. Then put a 1-tick repeater on it. A target block just here. Redstone dust next to that with a torch on the side of this target block above it. Put a 3-tick repeater pointing into the dust. Then going the other way, a 2-tick repeater just there into a solid block. And we want a torch on that block underneath the observer like this. Okay. Come around over here, put a comparator here into a block, into a repeater with dust in front of it. Then looking back the other way, inside this comparator we placed another comparator, a hopper. And I'm going to put 3 stacks and 46 items into here. So that would look like that. You could use full stacks, or I'm using unstackables. I'm using bows, just think it's easier. Right. Come back round over here, I think. So this dust is currently going into this block. We're going to go 1, 2 away from there, place a block, place a torch. You see that redirects the dust. I want a repeater pointing into that, a solid block just here with dust on top, and then another solid block on top of here to break that connection. Put a repeater here next to a comparator, and that's going to go into a solid block as well. Then we're going to move over to our dispenser, and on the back of the dispenser, I want a solid block here, one above this dust with a comparator on it, a block on the nose of that comparator, another block here with another comparator, and this one must be in subtract mode, a glass block next to the piston, solid block here, and we're going to put a sticky piston underneath that last block placed. Put dust here and here. And I think last thing I want to do is pop a dust here for the time being, and you'll see why that's there in a little while. Okay, so we should have something that looks a bit like this now, or a lot like this, hopefully, if you want it to work. And there's still quite a bit more to do in this space up here. So from the back of the build, we're going to come over here, and I want to place down 5 blocks along here, like this. And I need a glass block just here and a solid block just there. And on this one, we're going to put a repeater on 2 ticks. Redstone dust here. I want a comparator just there. And now I want to put another solid block here and no, here, sorry. So we have a block just there, oops, on top. Redstone dust here, another comparator just there, and then a solid block just here, like this. Put this comparator on this side on subtract mode, and we're going to put a redstone dust here with a comparator just there. Another block to the side, dust on top of that, and then diagonally out from this corner, just here, I want a block with a torch on it, which will light this dust here. Put this comparator in subtract mode as well. And on the back of there, we're going to put a furnace with a single item in it. So it doesn't matter what it is, single stackable item, like so. On this side, another comparator. And here I'm going to use a hopper. And inside this hopper, I'm going to put 4 stackable items. That's 1, 2. I need to get some more bows. 3, 4. So 4 stackable items in that hopper. Put a block on top so nothing falls in. And actually, we're going to do that with these hoppers. There's one under here as well. Put a block on top of that one, like that. So nothing can fall into it. Over here, I want another block there, one just here. We have redstone dust on those 2. Then on top of the smoker here, put another comparator like this, and we're going to have that in subtract mode as well. I want a block just here, a block on this observer output, and a torch just there. Redstone dust on here, like so. Okay, come back round this side, and this target block just here in the middle, we're going to put a torch on top of that, a solid block on top of that torch, and another torch just here. Okay. I want to come down underneath, so this block with a torch on it, underneath that, put a temporary block, and then come out by 2 blocks. And we're going to put a repeater on 2 ticks there, and one on 1 tick just there, and then another solid block behind that, like so. Come back down here, and we're going to place, just very quickly interrupting, because in this next bit, I keep saying place a dispenser, and in fact I do place a dispenser. I want you to place a dropper. That is the correct block to place here. Okay, let's get back to the build. A dispenser, so we're going to place a temporary block first, and a dispenser above that, like so. A hopper pointing down into the dispenser. I want a solid block just here with a comparator on it. And from there, we're going to go across here and put dust on there. And I want a solid block just here as well with dust on that, like so. In this dispenser, we're going to put a bow. So one stackable item, so one non-stackable item, and I want 3 different stackable items. So they can be whatever you like. They have to be different. So 1 non-stackable, 3 different stackable items, like that. Put a block on top of the hopper so nothing else falls in. Okay. Come over this way. So we've got this L shape of dust here. On this block, I want to put a torch, another dispenser facing towards the side like that, or powder snow in there, and then I'm going to put a temporary block here. So I want an observer, which is going to be watching where that powder snow gets dispensed. So there's a gap here for the powder snow. Get rid of that for now. Come along here by 1, 2, and then down one block as well, like this. Put a solid block just here. A solid block just here. Put redstone dust on that one. I want a solid block up here and a 3-tick repeater on there. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 ticks. Just here, I want another dispenser. So we're going dispenser happy. Another dispenser just here. And again, that's going to have powder snow in it. So let me grab a bucket of powder snow. Like so. Just put powder snow in that dispenser. And we're going to leave a gap. And then just here, I want an observer again, which is watching where that powder snow gets dispensed. So the observer has its face pointing downwards towards the dispenser. And that'll power this block and power these. Okay. A solid block just here. And in this corner, next to the solid block, I want a sticky piston. Like so. And an observer facing this way. So the observer will be powering into this block here. When the sticky piston pushes it down, it'll power this block, which will power the torch. And what you'll notice is that is opposite the lever, which is our autoplay. So when you turn this lever on, what it does is it extends the observer down, it forces it to stay down, and therefore the autoplay is turned off. When the lever's up, it allows that piston to move up and down when this repeater fires. Next, this hopper here. We put a glass block, then a solid block. I want dust on top of those two. So I'm going to put dust and dust. And then just here, we're going to have, against that dust, we're going to have yet another dispenser. We want a powder snow bucket inside there. So I'm going to grab a bucket again. Like so. And an observer facing up. So again, watching that gap where the powder snow will be dispensed with a solid block on top of it here to power this repeater. Back down this side over here. And in this corner, there's the torch, which shows our wins. And I want to put a solid block just here, put a torch on the side of that, so it's going to power this redstone dust, put a glass block on top of the torch, just here, and put dust on top of those two blocks like this. Come up here, and I want a solid block just there with a comparator. I'm going to put a furnace behind that comparator, like so. And in that furnace, I want one non-stackable item. So that's going to be a bow in my case. So we put a bow into that furnace like this. Okay, and we're very close to being done. The next thing we've got to connect up is our jackpot accumulator lights, and they will come along the side up here. So we'll get on and do that next. We're going to do this with basically a bunch of dust and comparators. So put a temporary block here, one to the side like that. So this, which is reading the dropper, which will have our diamonds in. We're going to have a dust here into a comparator. Then we're going to come up like this. We can have dust into a comparator. Then come up again diagonally like this. Dust into a comparator. And I want a solid block on top of this redstone here in front of that comparator, like so. Another block here. And we're going to double back on ourselves like this. And I want a comparator here with a solid block just there. I don't need that one. Another comparator just here. And then we're going to come up like so. And what we're trying to get to eventually is over here. And we're going to have dust on, so not the last light here, but the one before it, all the way to the end like that. And I'm going to have a comparator just here with a solid block behind it, dust here. At which point I realize that that should be dust here, and this should be a comparator. So it looks like that. Right, so there's 3 small things we need to fix, and the first of those is that we left a temporary block down here. So I'm on the right hand side, and we left a temporary block on top of that 3rd piston along. So break that. You should be able to see a target block through that hole. The second thing is that where I said place dispenser, this should be a dropper. Okay. And finally, if I go inside here, against this top observer, place another observer pointing into this solid block here above the torch. And that's what's going to power the dropper. And I've done some testing because I wanted to make sure that it was working. And it is indeed, that's why it's no longer showing a jackpot here. What we want to do is you want to put some diamonds into here. And if you do it at the moment, as we set it up, if you put in more than 38, they will get ejected out here, which is fine, so just collect them. And all I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop it in that hole and then go and record the demo. So if you got this far, first of all, thank you very much. And hopefully it's a sign that you're building the machine and that you've enjoyed this video, in which case I'd really, really appreciate it if you give it a like, comment down below as well. And if you're new to the channel, think about subscribing because it really helps out. And if you tell your friends about the channel as well, then that would be even better. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.